The grand chamber of the Galactic Council sparkled under the light of 3 artificial suns. 200 alien species sat in rising tiers of seats, their attention focused on the small group of humans standing in the center. Admiral Thompson stood straight and proud, his white uniform crisp and spotless. Behind him, his team waited with quiet confidence. "Honorable Council," Thompson began, his voice clear and strong. "Earth comes before you today, seeking membership in the Galactic Alliance. As required, we present our fleet specifications and defensive capabilities for your review." The head of the council, a tall being with silvery skin called Elder Vex, nodded slowly. "Proceed, Admiral." Thompson pressed a button on his tablet. Above the chamber, a hologram appeared showing Earth's primary battleship class. It looked simple compared to the elegant alien ships docked outside the station. The hull was blocky, with visible well blinds and basic weapon mounts. A murmur ran through the chamber. Someone laughed. "This," Thompson continued, ignoring the growing noise, "is our standard battle cruiser. It carries a crew of 200 and—" The laughter grew louder. Elder Vex held up a hand, but his mouth twitched with barely hidden amusement. "Admiral, surely this is a joke. These designs, they're practically ancient by galactic standards." Thompson kept his face neutral. "I assure you, these are our current specifications." Now the chamber erupted in open laughter. A reptilian delegate from the Stellar Empire stood up, pointing at the hologram. "Look at those engine housings. They wouldn't survive a single jump through hyperspace. And those weapon mounts, they're completely exposed." "Our ships are sturdy and reliable," Thompson stated firmly. "They're primitive." Another delegate shouted, "My people's cargo ships have better defenses." Elder Vex raised his hands for quiet, though his shoulders shook with suppressed laughter. "Admiral Thompson, while we appreciate Earth's enthusiasm for joining the galactic community, these vessels are far below our minimum standards. The Galactic Alliance cannot accept members who cannot properly defend themselves or contribute to our collective security." Thompson's team remained perfectly still behind him. Ambassador Miller, standing to his right, made a small note on her tablet. None of them showed any reaction to the mockery. "Perhaps," Elder Vex continued, his voice dripping with condescension, "you should return in a few decades, once your technology has advanced sufficiently. We could even arrange for some of our lesser shipyards to provide you with proper designs, at a reasonable price, of course." The Stellar Empire's delegate stood again. "Better yet, sell us your mining rights. At least your planet's resources could be put to good use by civilized species." Thompson calmly shut off the hologram. "Thank you for your time, honored council. Earth will consider your feedback." As the human delegation walked out of the chamber, the laughter followed them. None of them spoke until they reached their ship. Only then did Miller turn to Thompson, her eyes gleaming. "They bought it completely," she whispered. Thompson allowed himself a small smile as they boarded their vessel, a ship that looked just as plain and primitive on the outside as the designs they'd shown. Of course they did. Arrogance makes for poor observation skills. As their ship pulled away from the council station, Thompson stood at the bridge window, watching the glittering alien vessels. Each one was a masterpiece of visible technology, their power and advancement displayed proudly for all to see. "Send word to command," he ordered. "Operation Trojan Horse is proceeding exactly as planned. The galaxy sees exactly what we want them to see." Their primitive ship accelerated away from the station, its simple exterior hiding secrets that would soon shock the galaxy. Behind them, the council chamber continued to ring with laughter. They wouldn't be laughing for much longer. Deep within the Luna base, 3 kilometers below the moon's surface, Earth's military leadership gathered in a room that didn't officially exist. The walls were lined with screens showing real-time fleet movements across the solar system. Admiral Thompson stood at the head of the table, his earlier mask of humility replaced by fierce determination. The council reacted exactly as expected. He announced to the assembled commanders, "They believe we are primitive, weak, and desperate for their approval. General Stone, head of Earth Defense, smiled grimly. And our actual fleet status. Captain James stepped forward, her hands moving over the control panel. The room's holographic display came to life, showing a very different kind of ship than what had been presented to the Council. The evolution protocol is complete, she said. All ships in the main fleet have been upgraded. What the aliens saw were just shells, basic covers hiding our true capabilities. The hologram showed a ship seemingly breaking apart, but it wasn't being destroyed. Instead, it was transforming. Panels shifted, hidden weapons emerged, and entire sections reconfigured themselves into new forms. Our ships don't just fight, James explained. They adapt. Every battle makes them stronger. Every alien weapon they faced teaches them new defenses. They're designed to evolve mid-combat. The room was silent as they watched the demonstration. A ship that looked like a basic transport vessel suddenly sprouted energy cannons from previously invisible ports. Another split into 3 smaller craft, each with its own unique capabilities. The aliens pride themselves on their specialized ships. Thompson said, dedicated warships, dedicated carriers, dedicated support vessels. But what happens when one ship can become any of these at a moment's notice? What about the crews? Someone asked. James smiled. The internal layout remains stable during transformations. Our crews train in simulators where every scenario is different. They're ready for anything. General Stone stood up, his expression serious. The Stellar Empire has been pushing at our borders for months. Their ships have been scanning our outer colonies, testing our defenses. After today's display at the Council, they'll likely make their move soon. Let them come, Thompson said. Every scan they make shows them exactly what we want them to see. Old technology, basic weapons, primitive shields. He paused, looking at each person in the room. They think they know what humanity is capable of. They're wrong. The hologram changed again, showing the full Earth fleet hidden throughout the solar system. Hundreds of ships, each looking simple and outdated on the outside, but carrying humanity's greatest technological achievements within. Operation Trojan Horse enters its final phase, Thompson announced. All ships will maintain their current disguises. All communications will continue to use basic encryption that they can easily break. Let them think they know our every secret. Captain James stepped forward again. We've also detected their attempts to hack our databases. They're finding exactly what we want them to find. Technical documents showing outdated designs, research papers discussing basic theories they mastered centuries ago. And the real research? Stone asked. Hidden in plain sight, using methods they wouldn't even think to look for. Their arrogance blinds them. They believe that advanced technology must be visible, must be displayed proudly. They can't imagine a species choosing to look weak. Thompson walked to the window overlooking the underground hangar where Earth's true fleet waited. The ships below looked nothing like their disguised versions. They gleamed with technology that would make the Council's eyes widen in shock. Humanity has always been underestimated, he said quietly. Throughout our history, we've faced countless challenges, countless threats, and we've survived because we learned to adapt, to think differently, to use our enemies' assumptions against them. He turned back to the room. The galaxy laughs at us now. Soon, they'll learn that humanity's greatest strength isn't in our ships' weapons or shields. It's in our ability to surprise those who think they have us figured out. The meeting ended with a simple order. Wait. Let the aliens make the first move. Let them think they've caught humanity unprepared. The trap was set. Now it was time to wait for someone to spring it. The attack came at dawn, Earth time. 50 ships from the Stellar Empire dropped out of hyperspace near Europa colony, their sleek hulls gleaming in the dim sunlight. Their commander, Battlemaster Rex, didn't even bother with stealth. Why hide from primitives? Scan their defenses, Rex ordered, lounging in his command chair. The colony below had only 3 patrol ships guarding it, all showing the same primitive design the humans had presented to the Council. His tactical officer laughed. Their shields are exactly as weak as our spies reported. Their weapons, Battlemaster, I don't think they could even scratch our paint. Send them our demands, Rex said, smiling. Full surrender, or we'll destroy their ships and take the colony. The patrol ship's response came quickly. This is Captain Adams of Earth Defense Force. Your presence here is unwelcome. Leave immediately. The Stellar Empire's ships moved forward, weapons charging. Rex didn't even bother standing up. This would be over in minutes. Target their engines first, he ordered. I want to take at least one ship intact. Our engineers could use a good laugh. The first volley of alien weapons streaked across space. The human ships didn't even try to dodge. The energy blasts struck their hulls. And something impossible happened. Where the weapons hit, the human ship's primitive armor seemed to ripple. Panels that had looked solid began to move. What had appeared to be basic hull plating split apart, revealing layers of technology unlike anything the aliens had seen. What's happening? Rex demanded, finally standing up. What are they? Before he could finish, the 3 Earth ships changed completely. Their blocky shapes transformed, sections rotating and reforming. Weapon ports appeared where none had existed. Energy shields flickered to life, but not the simple barriers the aliens had expected. These shields shimmered with patterns that their sensors couldn't even analyze. Impossible, Rex's tactical officer shouted. Their power readings, they're higher than our entire fleet combined. Captain Adams' voice came again, but this time without its previous politeness. We warned you to leave. Now you get to see why. The 3 Earth ships attacked. Each one moved differently, adapted differently. When the Stellar Empire's ships fired again, one human vessel split into smaller craft that darted between the energy beams. Another seemed to absorb the incoming fire and redirect it back with twice the power. The third transformed its entire front section into what looked like a massive energy lens, focusing power in ways the aliens had never seen. Evasive action, Rex screamed, but it was too late. 10 enemy ships were destroyed in the first minute. Not disabled, destroyed completely. Another 15 fell in the next 2 minutes as the human ships continued to adapt, each transformation bringing new weapons, new defenses, new ways to strike. They're learning from every attack, the science officer reported, his voice shaking. Every time we hit them, every time we miss. They're using that data to become more effective. Rex watched in horror as his fleet was torn apart by just 3 ships. Ships that had looked so weak, so primitive just minutes ago. His tactical officer tried desperately to find a weakness, but the humans' transforming vessels never kept the same form long enough to target. Retreat, Rex finally ordered. Get us out of here. Only 23 ships managed to escape into hyperspace. As they fled, their sensors recorded one final image. The 3 Earth vessels returning to their simple, primitive-looking forms, resuming their patrol as if nothing had happened. In his command chair, Rex shook with rage and fear. Send word to High Command, he ordered. The humans, they've deceived us all. They're not primitive. They're something else entirely. As the Stellar Empire ships fled home in shame, Captain Adams sent a short message to Luna Base. First test of evolution protocol in actual combat. Successful. The enemy took the bait. They'll be back, and we'll be ready. The trap had been sprung. Now the real war could begin. News of the battle spread through the galaxy faster than light speed. In the great halls of the Galactic Council, Elder Vex stared at the battle footage playing on repeat. The same simple human ships they had laughed at just days ago were now shown transforming into weapons of incredible power. How did we miss this? He whispered, watching another replay of a human vessel splitting into 3 distinct craft before decimating a superior force. How did they hide such technology? The emergency council session had been running for hours. Representatives from every major species argued loudly about what this meant for the balance of power. The Stellar Empire's delegate was notably absent, having gone silent after their humiliating defeat. The humans must have help. Someone shouted. No species could develop this alone. Another delegate stood up. Their ships break every rule of design we know. It's impossible to maintain structural integrity during such transformations. Clearly not impossible, Elder Vex said quietly, silencing the chamber. We laughed at their ships, called them primitive. Now we know. Those simple exteriors hide technology we don't even understand. In the Stellar Empire's capital, Battlemaster Rex faced his superiors. The recording of his defeat played behind him as he gave his report. They let us scan them, he explained, his voice hoarse. They wanted us to see weakness. Every piece of intelligence we gathered showed the same thing. Primitive technology, basic weapons, simple shields. It was all a lie. The Empire's high command sat in stunned silence. Their best ships had been destroyed by a force 1/10 their size. Their most advanced sensors had been fooled by what now seemed an obvious deception. What are they? The High Commander asked. To hide such power, to choose to appear weak when they could have displayed their strength. They think differently than us, Rex replied. Everything we know about ship design, about showing power to deter enemies, they turned it against us. We saw what we expected to see, what we wanted to see. Back on Earth, Admiral Thompson sat in his office reading the flood of incoming transmissions. Some were threats, others desperate attempts at friendship. Many were from shipyards and weapons manufacturers, suddenly eager to share technology with Earth. Captain James entered with a new report. The evolution protocol exceeded expectations, she said. Every ship's combat data has been shared through the fleet. The next transformation configurations will be even more effective. Thompson nodded. And the Stellar Empire, moving their main fleet to the border. They're trying to hide it, but our deep space sensors show at least 300 ships gathering. Bigger ones this time. Let them come, Thompson said, looking at a message from Elder Vex begging for a private meeting. They still don't understand. They think they just need bigger ships, more weapons. He smiled. They haven't realized that every attack makes us stronger. Every battle teaches our ships new ways to adapt. In hidden shipyards throughout the solar system, Earth's fleet continued to grow. Each vessel looked simple and weak on the outside, a deception now known to the galaxy, but still effective. The aliens' own pride would make them believe they had simply missed some hidden technology, that there must be some trick to spot. They wouldn't understand the truth until it was too late. Humanity's ships weren't simply hiding advanced technology. They were advancing with every battle, learning, growing, evolving. What worked against them once would never work again. The galaxy had laughed at humanity's ships. Now they feared them. Soon, they would learn there was much more to fear. Because while the aliens scrambled to understand what they had seen, humanity was already building something new. Something that would make their transforming ships look primitive in comparison. The real surprises were still to come. The Stellar Empire's main fleet emerged from hyperspace in waves. 500 ships, their most powerful vessels, arranged in attack formation. At their center was the Empire's flagship, twice the size of any human vessel. High Commander Rex stood on its bridge, now promoted despite his previous defeat. No tricks this time, he announced to his fleet. No holding back. Full power from the start. Show these humans what real warships can do. Earth's defense fleet waited calmly. 50 ships, still wearing their simple disguises, formed a line between the Empire's armada and Earth. Admiral Thompson commanded from the front, his vessel looking exactly like the primitive designs that had been mocked at the Council. Remember, Thompson transmitted to his captains, let them fire first. Let them commit fully to the attack. Then show them how much we've learned. The Empire's fleet launched their first strike. Thousands of energy beams and missiles streaked across space. They had studied the footage from the previous battle, thinking they understood humanity's transformation tricks. They were wrong. As the alien weapons approached, the human ships changed, but not like before. This time, Their transformations were different, unexpected. Ships linked together, forming larger structures. Others broke apart into swarms of smaller craft that no sensor could lock onto. Some seemed to fade from view, becoming ghostly shapes that energy beams passed straight through. Impossible. Rex's tactical officer shouted. These aren't the same transformations they used before. Our countermeasures are useless. Thompson's voice came over all channels. Did you think we'd use the same tricks twice? Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to adapt. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. Every time the Empire's ships thought they had found a pattern to exploit, the human vessels changed their strategy. Formations that looked vulnerable suddenly became deadly traps. Ships that appeared damaged transformed into new configurations, turning the Empire's victories into defeats. Their learning during the battle. Rex realized, watching another squadron of his best ships fall to human weapons he'd never seen before. Every attack we make teaches them new ways to fight back. The Empire's neat formations broke apart as human ships darted between their lines. Some alien vessels found themselves fighting what looked like Earth transport ships, only to discover too late that they were facing disguised heavy cruisers. Others fired on what they thought were dangerous battleships, wasting their ammunition on simple decoys. Fight back, Rex ordered. We have 10 times their numbers. We have the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. Numbers mean nothing, Thompson transmitted back. Your weapons are powerful, but they never change. Your tactics are strong, but they're predictable. You're fighting the last war while we're inventing the next one. The Empire's mighty fleet, which had started the battle in perfect attack formation, was now scattered and broken. Human ships hunted them in pairs and trios, each group using different tactics, different configurations, different weapons. There was no pattern to analyze, no strategy to counter. After 3 hours of combat, Rex stood in his command center watching the remnants of his fleet retreat. Only 100 ships remained from his force of 500. The human fleet had lost just 5 vessels, and even those had been evacuated safely before their destruction. Send the signal, Rex said quietly. Full retreat. All forces withdraw from human space. As the Empire's ships fled, Earth's fleet reformed their line. One by one, they transformed back into their simple, unassuming shapes. The same primitive designs that had once been laughed at now struck fear into the hearts of the galaxy's strongest military. Thompson sent one final message to the retreating Empire ships. Next time, try asking nicely for trade deals. We're actually quite friendly when we're not being attacked. The message was clear. Humanity had been underestimated for the last time. The Galactic Council chamber looked very different now. Where once there had been laughter at humanity's expense, now there was tense silence. Elder Vex sat rigidly in his chair as Admiral Thompson walked to the center of the room. This time, no one dared to mock the simple design of his uniform or the basic appearance of his escort ships outside. 2 weeks ago, Thompson began, this council laughed at Earth's application for membership. Today, we're here to discuss very different terms. The chamber remained silent. Everyone had seen the battle footage. The Stellar Empire's mighty fleet, pride of the galaxy, had been torn apart by a force 1/10 its size. The Empire's representative sat in a corner, trying to look invisible. Humanity offers peace, Thompson continued. We have no desire for conquest or revenge, but we will have respect. Elder Vex leaned forward. Admiral, perhaps we were hasty in our previous assessment. The Council would be honored to accept Earth's membership application immediately. No. The single word echoed through the chamber. Thompson smiled slightly. We're not applying for membership anymore. We're here to negotiate an alliance. Equal partners, not junior members needing guidance from our betters. A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. Equal partnership. It was unheard of for a newly contacted species to demand such status. But then, everything about humanity had proved to be unheard of. Your ships, one delegate asked carefully, these transforming vessels, would you be willing to share the technology? That's an interesting question, Thompson replied. 2 weeks ago, you called our ships primitive. Now you want to copy them. Ambassador Miller stepped forward, opening her datapad. Earth is open to technical cooperation with peaceful species. But first, let's discuss the Stellar Empire's reparations for their unprovoked attack. The Empire's representative stood up quickly. Reparations. But you destroyed our ships. We lost more than you did. You attacked us, Miller said calmly. The fact that we defended ourselves more effectively than you expected doesn't change that fact. We have terms prepared. They're quite reasonable, considering the alternative. The implied threat hung in the air. Everyone had seen what human ships could do. No one wanted to risk becoming their next opponent. Elder Vex cleared his throat. Perhaps we should move to more positive matters. Earth's innovative approach to shipbuilding could benefit the entire galaxy. A technology exchange program would be possible. Thompson cut in, once proper diplomatic relations are established. But understand this. What you saw in the battle was already outdated. Those transformations, we developed better ones during the fight. The weapons that destroyed your best ships, we've already improved them. The chamber erupted in whispers. One species representative stood up. But how? Such rapid advancement is impossible. For you, maybe, Miller said. You build a ship and keep it the same for decades. We build ships that learn, adapt, and evolve. Every battle makes them stronger. Every encounter teaches them new tricks. Thompson gestured to the simple-looking Earth ships visible through the chamber's windows. Right now, you're all trying to figure out what these vessels can really do. You're scanning them, analyzing them, looking for their secrets. Here's the truth. They can do things even we haven't discovered yet, because they're not finished evolving. They never will be. The council sat in stunned silence as the implications sank in. They weren't just dealing with a species that had hidden advanced technology. They were facing a civilization that had fundamentally changed the rules of warfare and technological development. So, Thompson concluded, shall we discuss those alliance terms? As equals. Elder Vex looked around the chamber, saw the fear and respect in every alien face, and nodded slowly. Yes, Admiral. As equals. Welcome to the galactic community, partner. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity was just getting started. 6 months after the Great Battle, Earth had become the busiest hub of galactic activity in the sector. Alien ships of all designs crowded the orbital lanes, waiting for their chance to trade with humanity. The same species that had once laughed at Earth's primitive vessels now paid premium prices for even the smallest bits of human technology. Admiral Thompson stood in his office at Luna Base, watching the traffic through his window. Next to him, Captain James reviewed the latest reports on her tablet. The Stellar Empire completed their final reparation payment today, she said. Their shipyards are already implementing some of our basic adaptive technology. Under strict license, of course. Thompson nodded. And our new projects. The evolution protocol looks almost simple compared to what we're developing now. Would you like to see the latest test results? They walked together to a secure viewing room deep within the base. Through a reinforced window, they could see a small device floating in a testing chamber. It looked like a simple metal cube, no bigger than a coffee mug. Project Phoenix, James said proudly. Our next step forward. As they watched, the cube began to change. But this wasn't like the ship transformations that had shocked the galaxy. The cube seemed to flow like liquid while remaining solid, taking shapes that should have been impossible. It doesn't just transform, James explained. It creates new materials as needed, adapts its basic atomic structure, even generates new forms of energy we've never seen before. And the aliens still think our transforming ships are the height of our technology, Thompson said with a slight smile. In orbit above Earth, Ambassador Miller was giving the first ever tour of a human shipyard to a group of alien diplomats. Their ships, once considered primitive, were now the most sought-after vessels in known space. But how do you control the transformations? One alien asked, watching a new ship take shape. How do you plan for all the possibilities? Miller smiled. We don't. That's the key you're all missing. We don't limit our ships with rigid plans and fixed configurations. We give them the ability to learn, to grow, to become what they need to be. Like your species, another diplomat said quietly. Exactly. Humanity didn't become strong by following the expected path. We grew strong by adapting, by finding new ways forward when the old ways failed. In the Galactic Council chamber, Earth now had a permanent seat in the highest tier. Elder Vex had retired, replaced by younger leaders more open to humanity's different way of thinking. The chamber itself had changed, becoming less formal, more focused on practical cooperation than ceremony and show. Trade flourished across the galaxy. Species that had once competed now worked together, learning from Earth's example. The Stellar Empire, humbled by defeat, had become one of humanity's strongest allies, their combined fleets protecting trade routes and exploring new regions of space. But it was in the hidden labs of Luna Base that humanity's greatest project took shape. The cube they called Phoenix was just the beginning. If the galaxy had been shocked by ships that could transform and adapt, they weren't remotely prepared for what came next. Imagine, James said to Thompson as they watched the cube take another impossible form, a future where every human creation can evolve. Not just ships, but everything we build. Cities that adapt to their inhabitants' needs. Tools that become exactly what you need them to be. Technology that grows alongside us. They laughed at our ships, Thompson replied. Called them primitive because they couldn't see past the surface. They thought they were so far ahead of us, never realizing they had stopped advancing centuries ago. Through the window, the cube pulsed with energy no alien sensor could detect. Humanity's next step forward was taking shape, built on the same principle that had always guided them. The best way to predict the future was to create it. The galaxy had learned to respect humanity's ships. Soon, they would learn that was just the beginning. Because while the aliens were still trying to understand how human vessels transformed, humanity had already moved on to the next impossible thing. And the next, and the next. The future belonged to those who could adapt. And humanity was very, very good at adapting.